Okay, hello and welcome. Today we're going to be speaking about Yah's servant, his servants who's here to help you, his rulers. You know, this is a quote from an alternative translation, the NCV. Says the ruler is Elohim's servant to help you, taken from Romans 13:4. And this so happens today we're going to be taking a look at Romans 13. You know, but contrary to this picture, it's not as it may seem. You know, so we're gonna get off into that. All right, so there are many who have been traditionally taught that our government is sanctioned by Yah, and that we're to obey them and wait patiently until Yahushua comes back and establishes his kingdom upon the earth. Due to this traditional misunderstanding of Romans 13, many sheep will blindly follow their governments, ultimately to their own demise. You know, therefore, it's imperative that we have clarity concerning Romans 13, because this is a very dangerous doctrine for many reasons. But three of the most essential is that this erroneous doctrine in and of itself contradicts Yah's first three commands. Not to mention that your government has been known to send out letters to their predominant clergy, emphasis on their predominant clergy, asking them to teach often on this very subject. Such letters go on to say ministers are to serve their country by helping to keep the people orderly via this erroneous doctrine of Christ has arrived. The following is a news article from the Ellis County Observer newspaper, printed in July 28, 2009. It says, a shocking KSLA news report has confirmed the story we first broke last year that clergy response teams are being trained by the federal government to quell dissent and pacify citizens to obey the government in the event of a declaration of martial law. In May 2006, we exposed this existence of a nationwide FEMA program which is training pastors and other religious representatives to become secret police enforcers who teach their congregations to obey the government in preparation for the implementation of the martial law, property and firearm seizures, mass vaccination programs, and forced relocation. You know, so, I don't know how that got like that, but, okay. Let's take a look at Exodus 20, 1 through 6. My first reader, please.
And God spake all these words, saying, I am Yahuwah thy God, which hath brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down to thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, Yahuwah thy Elohim, am a jealous Elohim, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments.
Okay, before we go any further, I think it's only just and right that I give a precursor, you know, by going on the record and for the record that I am not against any governmental structure today per se, but I am pro Kingdom of Elohim. Amen?
Yes.
All right, so here it is. We see the word God and gods utilized 5 times in this short passage. In every instance, the word God or gods is Elohim, number 430 in your Strongs, meaning rulers or judges. You know, now, it is evident today that neither the federal U.S. government nor any other of the world's governments existing today was inaugurated by Yahuwah. So if they wasn't inaugurated by Yah, then who? You know, I want you to see, you know, that Elohim spake all these words saying. And we know who Elohim is, right? Even Yahuwah, right? You know, and he lets us know that in the very next verse. He says, I am who? Yahuwah. Thy what? Elohim. See, Yahuwah is a who, Elohim is a what. Can you see that? You know, I know many believers are used to addressing the Father as a what, you know, but he's actually a who as well, you know, and that who is Yahuwah. He says, I am Yahuwah, thy what? Elohim. Okay, now, this word Elohim means what? Rulers or judges. So he said, I am Yahuwah, thy ruler and judge, which have brought thee out of the land of Mizraim, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other rulers or judges before me. Can you get that? Did you get that? It says, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water underneath. Thou shalt not bow thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, Yahuwah, thy ruler and judge, am a jealous ruler and judge, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto the thousands of them that love me and keep his commandments. You know, so we have the first three commandments here, right? You know, thou shalt have no other Elohim before me, no other judges or rulers before me, right? Thou shalt not make any graven image, you know, and thou shalt not serve them. Thou shalt not bow thyself down to them, nor serve them. Okay. You know, now, I want you to understand that our governmental system, as well as just about every governmental system of the world, is just that, governmental systems of the world. You know, the U.S. government and every other one that I know of erects graven images, you know, in the face of Exodus 20. You know, this is the U.S. Capitol building right here. Look what's on top. Oh, what is that? Would that be a graven image? You know, surely it is. It's what they call it, the Statue of Liberty, or the Liberty Statue or something like that. But essentially these two are the same, you know, because this is the other Statue of Liberty. We are familiar with this one over in New York, right? You know, and then we have what they call the Lincoln Memorial, which is nothing more than the glorified obelisk. You know, so we see that the U.S. government erects these graven images in honor of their principalities, that is, their state powers and authorities, their world rulers, for example, the office of Caesar, or I think they're calling him president today, or in some cases, prime minister. You know, and the spiritual wickedness that they worship in high places, they are still in high places, pagan gods, you know, and Libertus, that's her name, the pagan god Libertus, you know, and that's who the woman on top of the Statue of Liberty is as well. The pagan goddess Libertus. Wow. You know, they bow down. That is, they pay homage to these things. You know, and they, when they take their oaths of office, you know, concerning them. You know, in direct opposition to Exodus 27, thou shalt not take the name of Yahuwah thy Elohim in vain, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless who take his name in vain. Okay, now we're going to be going through Romans 13, but we're only going to get up to verse 8. Okay, Romans 1 through 3. My next reader, please.
Let me just say, we got in the mailbox today a letter from U.S. Department of Homeland Security
Oh, hallelujah.
Is this message timely or what? Romans 13. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of Elohim. The powers that be are ordained of Elohim. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power resisteth the ordinance of Elohim, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same.
Hallelujah. You know, now many would have you, believe that these powers that's being spoken of is those that are in power, such as world rulers and so on and such. But this word power is exousia, number 1849. It means liberty. It means power or right to do something or not do something. It speaks to authority in all actuality. It's from the root exesti, number 1832, meaning to be lawful or to be allowed. Now let's take a look at one of the cognates of exousia, which is exousiazo, number 1850. It means to exercise authority over, which is quite different. As used in Luke 22, 25, and 26, it says, and he said unto them, the kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and they that exercise authority upon them are called benefactors. But ye shall not be so. But he that is greatest among you, let him be as the younger, and he that is chief, as he that doeth serve. Those who exercise lordship is kurio, meaning to rule, to have dominion over, to lord over, or be lord of, and what's translated as they that exercise authority upon is exousia, number 1849. I'm sorry, not exousia, but exousiazo, number 1850. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple more instances, of exousiazo, or one of his cognates, or some of the cognates of exousia, and they're found in Mark 10, 42 through 45, and Matthew 20, verses 25 through 28, and they're all dealing with the same subject matter, which is the government of the kingdom of Elohim, even as Luke 22. So let me have my next reader read Mark 10, 42 through 45, and Matthew 20, 25 through 28.
But Yahushua called them to him, and saith unto them, Ye know that they which are counted to rule over the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and their great ones exercise authority upon them. But so shall it not be among you. But whosoever will be great among you shall be your minister. And whosoever of you will be the chiefest shall be servant of all. For even the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister and to give his life a ransom for many. Moving to Matthew. But Yahushua called them unto him and said, Ye know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them, and they that are great exercise authority upon them. But it shall not be so among you. But whosoever will be great among you, let him be your minister. And whosoever shall be chief among you, let him be your servant. Even so, the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister, and to give his life a ransom for many.
Hallelujah. All right, so it's speaking of exercising lordship and dominion, having dominion over something. So that's what we think of when we think of, government, in the modern sense of the word. We think of lordship and dominion, and that's the way. Just the way that this is saying that Yah's kingdom is not to be is exactly the way the kingdoms of the world are. Amen. Right. And that's exactly what he was doing, making a contrast betwixt his kingdom and theirs. Okay. Hence he says, ye know that they which are accounted to rule over the Gentiles exercise lordship over them. and they're great ones exercise authority. And the same thing in Matthew 20, he says, you know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them, and they that are great exercise authority upon them. Well, to exercise lordship or have dominion over in both of these passages is the word katakurio, number 2634, meaning to lord against, that is to control or subjugate, you know, and where it speaks about exercising authority in both of these passages, it is katex exousiazo, you know, which means to have or wield full privilege over. Okay, so both of these are speaking to controlling people. Now, it should be clear that Romans 1-3 is not referring to any government that exercises dominion over its citizens, that seeks to control its citizens by force. If this were the intent of the passage, the author would have used one of these Greek words, exousiazo, or curio, or katakurio, or kata exousiazo, all of which exclusively means to rule or lord over, you know, with the use of force, you know. Instead, Ruach HaKodesh chose to use exousia, which speaks to an individual's authority to make decisions. If this passage referenced the world's governmental rule over Yah's citizens within the kingdom of Elohim, it would directly contradict Yahushua. For he said in verse 26 of Luke 22, but ye shall not be so. But he that is greatest among you, let him be as the younger, and he that is chief as he that doeth serve. Being the younger identifies with the one having the least dominion, not the most. Even as the baby of the family who is subjugated to the whole family. And in like manner is the ruler within the kingdom of Elohim. The ruler within the kingdom of Elohim is subservient to the whole body of Yahushua, even as the younger or the baby of the family is subjugated to the whole family. They that have the exousia, or that type of authority, have the authority to make decisions, but they do not have the katakurio or kata exousiazo, that is, they do not have the authority to lordship or have dominion to compel adherence. You know, so, you know, they can make decisions, you know, but they can't compel adherence to those decisions. So they can make rules and regulations, but they can't make anyone keep them. You know, so now knowing the true definition of exousia in respect to power, i.e. authority to make decisions, let us insert it into the text and see how it now reads. Romans 13:1, let every soul be subject unto higher authority. But there is no authority but of Elohim, the authorities that are ordained of Elohim. Whosoever therefore resists the authority, resisteth the ordinance of Elohim. And they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. For the rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou not be afraid of the authority? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. You know, now, Apostle Paul introduces rulers, the word rulers. This word rulers is archon. It means to be a first in rank or in power. You know, and it is used in the passages that we went over in Luke 22:26. It says, but ye are not to be so, but he that is greatest among you, let him be as the younger, and he that is chief as do serve. So the rulers in the kingdom of Elohim are to be as those that serve. Again, Mark 10:44, and whosoever of you will be the chiefest shall be servant of all. So if you're going to be the first in rank or power, then you're going to be the one that's serving the most. And it's no different in Matthew 20, verse 27, whosoever shall be chief among you, let him be your servant. You know, now, again, the one that is first in rank or power within the kingdom of Elohim is the servant of all, which is the direct opposite of those who are in power in the kingdoms of the world. You know, those that are in power in the kingdoms of the world, those who are chief, you know, or the chiefest amongst them, they are the ones that's being served. not serving. You know, even though, like in the U.S., they're called public servants, you know, but that's in name only. You know, they're the public servants that get served by the public. You know, it's always good to take into account the Hebraic mindset, which is concrete in thought, and that it usually relates words to something that is concrete, something that can be perceived with the five senses. You know, so whereas the Greek and English words are abstract in thought, that is, they leave you hanging, they don't tie their words to something that can be perceived with the senses. For the sake of clarity, let us consider authority from a Hebraic mindset. You know, so what I've done is I've taken a passage in which is utilized in Proverbs 29:2, which says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. Okay, this word authority in the Hebrew is rabbah, number 7235. It means to become great. You know, and seeing that our Messiah was a Hebrew and the apostles were Hebrews, they had a Hebrew mindset, you know, and so when they used the word authority, it would have matched their mindset, you know. But in the kingdom of Elohim, it's different because Yahushua made it different. Amen. You know, it's to Rabbah's Hebraic pictograph is of a head and a house. Combined, they speak to the head of the house. The father was considered the head of the house, for he was usually the greatest. That is, he was the biggest and strongest of the house, thereby enabling him to enforce his authority within the household. So when you look at, you know, the average family, yes, the average family wears blue, red, orange, and yellow. You know, but when you look at the average family, the dad is usually the largest in the family. He's the biggest, he's the strongest in the family, you know, especially new family, you know, with the mom in second, you know, and they represent the authority in the Hebrew mindset. They see the biggest and baddest of the family, and they know he has the authority because he has the ability to force the others to comply to his decision making. You know, and so that's the mindset. Now, this is likely the reason why Paul introduces the word rulers or archon, number 758, you know, meaning first chief or ruler in verse 3, for it ties the subject to something a little more concrete. In the Romans' mind, the first or chief leader and ruler of the house was the father. That's why the entire Roman government was centered around this concept. Their senate was called the conscripted fathers. And Caesar was pater patriae, or pater patriae, yeah, something like that, i.e. the father of the country. You know, so they knew full well and understood this concept that authority lied with the father. And likewise, the kingdoms, archon or rulers, and authority spoken of had and has lawful authority within the kingdom of Elohim. The original ecclesia are the fathers of the faith, in the sense that they were the first of the faith, de facto, or were ordained by one of the fathers of the faith. You know, as we see with like Apostle Paul speaking to Titus and calling him his son, or speaking to Timothy and calling him his son, you know, because he was their father, spiritual father, because he brought them into the faith. You know, same thing. You know, now Romans 13:3 says, for the rulers are not a terror, but to evil. Not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the authority? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. You know, see, we are to be afraid of the authority that they have to make their decisions. The authority that was given to them to make their decisions, because ultimately it comes from the authority. You know, and the authority is the Father. You know, our Messiah said the Father is greater than I am. You know, and he is the ultimate authority in heaven, you know, and the ultimate authority upon the earth, you know, is the Father. And everyone understood this concept long ago, but nowadays things have gotten sidetracked and people don't understand that Yah's governmental structure, his governmental structure begins with the household, you know, and it begins with the father. You know, that is the way his governmental structure is and always has been. In the governments of this world, you know, even back to the Romans, the great Roman government, they understood this, and this is why Caesar was called Pater, you know, or the father of the country. This is why the Senate was referred to as the conscripted fathers, you know, because they were showing that they had that authority, you know, to enforce their decision making, you know, by force if need be, you know. But our Messiah, Yahushua, says the Father is greater than I am, you know, and as we see in the kingdom of Elohim, it's likewise. The Father has the ultimate authority. And he says, do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for Elohim's wrath. For it is written, it is mine to avenge, I will repay, says Yahuwah. This is a quote from Romans 12:19. You know, so we're to recognize the authority in our lives. You know, and he's the one that takes vengeance. He's the one that get on folks when they don't do what they're supposed to do. So even, you know, if the rulers, you know, say what to do and don't do, they are titular, you know, in service, meaning in name only. All they can do is tell you what to do and what not to do. You have to decide whether or not you're going to do it. But know that if you don't, the authority in which that they obtained their authority is the Heavenly Father. And even though they can't get you, he can. So it is imperative that we understand who these rulers and authorities are, i.e., are they those of the world or the kingdom of Elohim? So let's see who's been given all authority. You know, we're going to consider Matthew 28:16-18. My next reader, please.
Then the 11 disciples went away into Galilee, into a mountain where Yahushua had appointed them. And when they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. And Yahushua came and spake unto them, saying, all power is given unto me in heaven and in earth.
Hallelujah. Okay, so this word power again, used here in verse 18 of Matthew 28, is exousia, i.e. authority. But it's important to understand that the power or authority that was given Yahushua only spoke to the kingdom of Elohim. You know, and a lot of people get this misconstrued, but, you know, it spoke to the kingdom of Elohim. Hence we read concerning the future, you know, in Revelations, which was the revelation of our Messiah, Yahushua. He was revealing, that's what revelation means, he was revealing what was to come in the future. Revelations 11:15 says, and the seventh angel sounded, and there were great voices in the heavens saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Adonai and of his Mashiach. And he shall reign forever and ever. Whoa, wait a minute. You know, that's a contradiction, isn't it? Just said in Matthew 28:18, you know, Yeshua was telling his disciples, saying, all power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Only concerning the kingdom of Elohim. The kingdom of Elohim extends from the heavens to the earth. But there are other kingdoms of this world that will also be given over to him, but not yet. The kingdoms of this world will become the kingdoms of our Adonai and of Mashiach. And he shall reign forever and ever. But this hasn't happened yet. This is a revelation. This is a revealing what shall be. Amen. Also we have Luke 9:1-2. It says he called his 12 disciples together and gave them power and authority. He gave them exousia over all devils and to cure diseases. And he sent them to preach the kingdom of Elohim and to heal the sick. So again, you know, this exousia that he had given them pertained to the kingdom of Elohim. It didn't pertain to the kingdoms of this world. So I pray that one is now able to see that these authorities refer only to the kingdom of Elohim, and that they do not reference those who exercise lordship or dominion over the kingdom of Elohim, but rather are servants to the kingdom of Elohim, because the kingdom of Elohim does not work like that. It doesn't have its rulers they're not given lordship or dominion over the people, but they are servants to the kingdom. Now, they were and are made rulers in name only, like Cephas or Peter, Yochanan, Yaakov, Apostle Paul. They were rulers in the ecclesia. They were rulers in the body of Mashiach, but it was in name only. They didn't go around with soldiers and troops making people do what they said. Now there were times when Yah, who is the head over the kingdom of Elohim, the ultimate authority, there was times when he backed up what they said, and if people got out of line, he got with them. Such as Ananias and Sapphira. When they were lying and trying to trick their way into the ecclesia, deceive their way into the ecclesia, they dropped dead. But Cephas did not lay a finger on them. Neither did he have anyone else lay a finger on them. It was by the power of Elohim. It was by his lordship. It was by his dominion. So no one could come to Cephas and say, you're a murderer, or this, that, and the other, because he never laid a hand on them. They were made rulers, even as those rulers within the kingdom today. They are rulers, but they're rulers in name only. That they were and are the carriers. They were, and those that are rulers now today in the kingdom of Elohim are the carriers of Yah's presence in the earth today. They stand in the Jordan. That is the Ruach HaKodesh, the same as the Levites once did. They are the chiefs in respect that they have set the chief examples of the faith. They were and are the leaders in the respect that the presence of Elohim is with them, staying the waters, that they might become true, that ye might become true Hebrews, which speaks to those having crossed over. Selah. Okay, I'm going to now retranslate Romans 1 through 3. Romans 13, 1 through 3, rather, with this understanding. But I want you to keep in mind that the original text did not have punctuation, therefore it was subjected to the translator. Also note that for the sake of brevity, I have also retranslated some other wording that we haven't went over, but please feel free to scrutinize them on your own. They are in italics. Additionally, I have retranslated verses 4 through 8 that one can get a gist of the problem that was being addressed. So Romans 13, 1 through 3. Let every soul be subject unto superior authorities. For there is no authority but of Yah. The authorities that are ordained of Yah. For example, such as 12 apostles that were ordained of Yah. Whosoever resisteth that authority, resisteth the ordinance of Yah. And they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. Not from men, not from, from troops of the kingdom in the physical, but of that authority, the Father. Verse 3, for rulers, titular rulers, that is, in name only, they do not flee from good works. See, the true rulers of the kingdom of Elohim do not flee from good works. That's how they're established. But what do they flee from? But from the evil works. Wilt thou then not be fearful of the authority doing? So you have to recognize that if they're doing good, it's because of Yah, the presence of Elohim with them. that's doing that good. You know, just as Yahushua was saying, if you've done it to the least of them, you've done it unto me. And how we talked about the flip side of that coin is true too. If the least of them has done it unto you, Yah has done it unto you. You know, so if his servant has done something unto you, Yah has done it unto you. So wilt thou then not be fearful of the authority doing that which is good and possess praise of the same? Because if you do be fearful, you know, then you'll possess praise of the same, that same authority, the Heavenly Father who's over all. Amen? In verses 4 through 8. For he is the minister of Yah to thee for good. Again, speaking about the rulers in the kingdom of Elohim. But if thou do that which is evil, be fearful, for he beareth not the sword in vain. You know, and this sword is allegorical, speaking to the word of Elohim. You know, even as the Mashiach spoke to his disciples before his passion, saying, you know, do you have a sword? You know, and they said, yes, we have two. And he said, that is enough. You know, but when they was coming to take him, and Keith was the head of the ecclesia, went to use the sword and cut the guy's ear off, he checked him and picked his ear up and put it back on the man's head and healed him, and said, you know, no, you don't know what's, you know, those who live by the sword die by the sword. You know, and of course, you know, we know Keith and the other disciples, you just told us to bring the sword. What are we supposed to do with it? You know, allegorical. Just like Yahushua didn't mean for them to take them swords and kill people, you know, neither is this sword here spoken of for you to make somebody do something. You know, for he beareth not the sword in vain, he beareth not the word of Elohim in vain, for he is the minister of Yah, carrying out justice unto wrath upon him that do evil. You know, you have an example of this with Apostle Paul being tormented by a little girl that was possessed by a spirit, but she brought a lot of money to those that was around her. You know, he got tired of it, and he pulled that sword. He spoke to that spirit in the word of Elohim, and that spirit had to go. Didn't make her keepers too happy, but it carried out justice. You know, verse 5, wherefore ye must needs to be subject, not only on the account of wrath, but also on account of your moral self-awareness. For on account of this, ye put an end to your tribute, even because they are Elohim's ministers, devoted towards this very thing. Render therefore to all that which is owed, tribute to the tributary, put an end to the one who has quit, flee from the one who flees, value the valuable, owe no man anything, but love one another. For he that loveth one another hath fulfilled the law. So, in conclusion, when one reads this translation, they get a whole different picture of what was going on. It seems that there was a problem with the Romans submitting to Yah's established authority. You know, and you can see this because this being the case in that the Romans were the head governmental system of the world during that time. You know, and the Romans, those who were in fact Romans, had special privileges. You might recall when Apostle Paul, you know, they were about to beat him, and he said, is it lawful for you to beat a Roman citizen without him first having a trial? You know, and then they got scared. You know, see, the Romans had special privileges. You know, so you can kind of see how this could have came about. So it seems that there was a problem with the Romans submitting to Yah's established authority within the kingdom of Elohim. And therefore, Apostle Paul expounds on who the authorities of the kingdom were as well, and as how they came to be authorities. Paul then asked the Romans, are they not fearful of Yah's authorities? You know, because they became authorities by the good works that they were doing. You know, so Paul asked them, are you not fearful of Yah's authority that does good works and are even praised for the good that they do. You know, it's not no mistaken, you know, that these are good people. You know, they're praised for their good works. He goes on to continue to admonish the Romans for rebelling against Yah's authorities on the grounds of them doing nothing more than being devoted to their job. You know, just didn't like what they had to say, you know, because you were doing wrong and they checked you on it. You know, he then encourages them to subject themselves to Yah's authorities. Not just because of rebuke's sake or because, you know, they're afraid of what Yah is going to do to them, but also for the sake of their moral conscience, that is, their self-awareness, because you know you're wrong. Because you know you're wrong. So Paul might have been concerned for the Romans, knowing that their moral conscience was at risk of being defiled. He spoke about this in Titus 1:15 and 16. He says, unto the pure all things are pure. Yes. But unto them that are defiled and unbelieving is nothing pure. But even their mind and conscience is defiled. See, you don't want your mind and conscience to become defiled. He goes on to say they profess that they know Elohim. Yes. But in works they deny him, being abominable and disobedient, and unto every good work reprobate. Yes. See, their mind and their conscience become defiled because they begin to make excuses for the things that they want to do. You know, they find a way to explain it away so that they can do what they want to do. Paul continues on rebuking the Romans for ending their contributions out of disdain for Yah's authorities. Disdain for them just simply doing their job. And he encourages them to give to all of Yah's authorities their just due. That is, by giving tribute to the tributary. Give tribute to the one who's given themselves for the kingdom. And by not stopping the giving of it unless the tributary is stopped. If they're still serving the kingdom by paying tribute to them with their services, then you'll continue to give tribute unto them. Likewise, to only flee from the ones that flee from them, and to value them that are valuable to the kingdom, i.e. Yah's authorities. Yes. You know, so, you know, this is what was really being spoken to in Romans 1 through 8. You know, a lot of that which comes afterwards is kind of straightforward. So I just want to take the time out and present this so that folks will have a good understanding as to what's being spoken of here, you know, versus what many are being brainwashed to believe. So that's all I have for you today.